بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أتمان الأكملان خير خلق الله أجمعين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dearest brothers and sisters, this is the 22nd lesson from the series on the Tafseer of Surah Yusuf alayhi salam. This one's going to include, if you like, a short tangent at the end, which will be discussing the topic of depression and Islam. This is a topic which is, I think, something a lot of people want to know about. The key question is, can a mu'min suffer from depression? Or is it the case that a person who has weak iman suffers from depression? This question will be tackled towards the end, and the reason why we're doing it here is because in the verses that we'll cover today, inshallah, verse number 81 to 85, or rather 86, these verses are about Yaqub alayhi salam expressing his long-standing grief, sadness and sorrow over Yusuf alayhi salam. So it kind of fits in with this already. Inshallah, we'll be taking that towards the end. But the scene so far is that the scene we left off at is where all the brothers are there in Egypt now for the second time. They're holding their heads in anguish that look what was happened. Binyamin, the youngest of us, and the one who's second most beloved to our father, has now been taken as a slave to Aziz, and we've got to go back and tell Dad about what happened. However, the eldest of them, قَالَ كَبِيرُهُمْ, he's not having it. He's saying, we can't go back like this. In fact, myself, I impose self-exile. I'm going to stay here in this foreign land until Dad comes and gives me permission, or he sends permission for me, حَتَّى يَأْذَنَ لِي أَبِي أَوْ يَحْكُمَ اللَّهُ لِي, or Allah decides. That's all. I can't go back. I can't face Dad. I'm the eldest of you all. I hold the most responsibility, and I can't face Dad for the second time now. Yeah, after doing this to Yusuf alayhi salam the first time. So now he tells them what you need to say when you go back to Dad. Okay, acting like a proper older brother here, telling them what you need to say. This is where we are now, inshallah. Let's recite from this portion. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ارجعوا إلى أبيكم فقولوا يا أبانا إن ابنك سرق وما شهدنا إلا بما علمنا وما كنا للغيب حافظين واسأل القرية التي كنا فيها والعير التي أقبلنا فيها وإنا لصادقون قال بل سولت لكم أنفسكم أمرا فصبر جميل عسى الله أن يأتيني بهم جميعا إنه هو العليم الحكيم وتولى عنهم وقال يا أسفا على يوسف وابيضت عيناه من الحزن فهو كظيم قالوا تالله تفتأ تذكر يوسف حتى تكون حرضا أو تكون من الهالكين قال إنما أشكو بثي وحزني إلى الله وأعلم من الله ما لا تعلمون. So eldest brother says, look, you guys, you go back. I'm going to stay here. And when you go back, this is how you break the news to Dad. Irji'u ila abikum faqulu. Go back and tell Dad the following. Now the way the ayah is constructed, it's as if you're at the scene where the brothers are now having their second huddle, coming together this time round, unlike the first time, to try and rescue the brother. The first time round it was to try and get rid of the brother. Second time round, look, this is what we need to do. We can't rescue him like this. Well, plan B is go back. But then, when he says, say this to dad, it is as if they have actually reached back to Palestine and they are now saying it to dad face to face. Okay, that's how you read this verse. So he says, فَقُولُوا, say. And now they're actually going to say this to dad. Ya abana, O our father, inna banaka saraqa, wa ma shahidana illa bima alimna, wa ma kunna lil ghaybi hafidhin. Say, O our father, your son, he stole. Your son, he stole. Wa ma shahidana illa bima alimna. And we cannot bear witness except to that which we know. Now, that's interpreted in two ways. But let's move on to the second part first. And then they say, وَمَا كُنَّا لِلْغَيْبِ حَافِظِينَ. And we are not, when it comes to the unseen, protectors. Yeah, protectors. So what does this mean? That we can only bear witness to that which we know and we can't protect against the ghaib. One interpretation is that they are saying, Dad, we took that covenant with you. Yeah, we bore witness to that covenant before Allah. But we only did that based on what we know. As in, we only knew that we're going to go there, get the stuff and come right back. So we did that based on our knowledge. We never knew what's going to happen in the future from the ghaib. Yeah. So the second part, وَمَا كُنَّا لِلْغَيْبِ حَافِظِينَ, is, as Ibn Jawzi said, Dad, we took that oath based on, what we knew at the time, but we never knew what's going to happen in the future. Now, you can't expect us to protect against the ghaib. How can you do that? Like protecting against things that which you don't know. Yeah, it came out of the unseen. That's what they're trying to say. That's one interpretation. The second interpretation is, see, this whole story is so complicated at this point because number of factors. Number one, the brothers know Binyamin is not a thief. But they saw the cup come out of his bag. And they saw that he doesn't protest. Binyamin, it's really you? He don't say nothing. Cuff him, taking away, not a word of protest. What's going on? We don't even know that he's a thief. Yeah. Second complication. Okay, but how did Binyamin get taken away as a slave? Well, the thing is, we kind of said that whoever stole should be taken away as a slave. What? So you're telling me that you think that he did steal? That's one thing. But how did he get taken as a slave? Well, the thing is about that, you won't guess what happened. Aziz was saying, no, seriously, you got to listen to this. Aziz was saying, okay, you tell me what's the punishment for the one who steals it. So we said, as you told us, Dad, that according to our Sharia, if you steal, then khalas, you become enslaved to the one you stole from. We only gave that shahada to Aziz in saying what the punishment should be based on what we knew, meaning what you taught us. You see? And we never knew what was going to happen after that. We don't know where this is going to go. Yeah. So the other factor which is making it even more complicated is that they're coming back to Dad and they're being very honest now. Yeah, they're actually being honest now. But Dad also knows not only that they were once upon a time lying about the same thing, but the thing they are saying now, it can't be true because Binyamin is not a thief. I know that he's not a thief. So how can I accept that you're telling me that he stole? Do you see? It's kind of and this part of the story very, very emotional. Yeah? And you can feel the pain of Ya'qub alayhi salam already. But you kind of can feel the pain for the brothers as well, right? Like they're the boy that cried wolf. But this time it's actually happening. Like they never did anything, that they're actually being honest and they're trying so hard to explain that to Dad. But this is the predicament that they find themselves in. Okay, so that's the second interpretation. Ma shahidana, meaning that witnessing we gave to Aziz when we said that the thief should be enslaved to the one that he stole from, was based on what we knew at the time. we can't, we never knew the ghaib after that. Now, it's interesting that they specify that they can't be hafidhin when it comes to the ghaib. Yeah? Why do you think they use that word in particular, that we can't be a hafiz when it comes to the ghaib? What did they kind of say already, Dad? That give us Binyamin, it's okay, he can come with us. When it comes to Binyamin, we're protectors. Yeah, we're hafidhun. Yeah? وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. We're going to look after him. Yeah, we're going to look after him. So you said you're hafidh, and now what happened? Yeah, but we can't be hafidh when it comes to the ghaib. Come on. And the other thing is that, if you look at in light of the covenant, Dad said, do you swear by Allah you're going to bring him back to me? Yes, Dad, we are. And then Dad said, إِلَّا أَن يُحَاطَ بِكُمْ. Except if, something happens beyond your control. Isn't it? Dad stipulated that as a kind of exception to the rule. You swear you're going to bring back? Yes. Except if circumstances beyond your control. Like we cancel our dars, we say. The dars was cancelled because of circumstances beyond our control. Yeah? It means we couldn't do anything. So the same thing, the brothers are coming back and saying, Dad, look, we did whatever we could, tried our best, he stole, and it was something out of our control. We can't protect against things. Just like you said, Dad, at the covenant, we have to try our best, but if things happen beyond our control, you can't blame us. Alright? So there's many ways of reading this verse. But the point is, they're actually being honest here. Okay? Now, we're going to look at how they broke the news the first time round to Dad, when they were lying. How does it differ to the way they're breaking the news this time? Okay, we'll take that inshallah in just a minute. The second thing they say, وَاسْأَلِ الْقَرْيَةَ الَّتِي كُنَّا فِيهَا. Dad, I know you don't believe us. We already know that. But was'al, ask, okay, al-qarya, the town. This is referring to Egypt. Yeah, they're saying, Dad, you don't believe us. Was'al al-qarya allati kunna fiha. Ask, the people of Egypt. Either you go there and find out yourself, or you send someone there to find out, because those guys over there know we're telling the truth. Don't believe us, Dad? Ask the people of Egypt. Or second thing, Dad, وَالْعِيرَ الَّتِي أَقْبَلْنَا فِيهَا. Or the caravan that also went with us from Palestine to Egypt. We didn't go alone. We went with the other people from Palestine, so they all going to get food from there. And those guys, they know what happened as well. So you can ask them if you don't believe us. Yeah? وَإِنَّا لَصَادِقُونَ. And indeed we are truthful, very, very honest right now, Dad. You've got to believe us. So how does that compare to the first time round when they threw Yusuf alayhi salam in the well and they came back and they made up this story? Well, that time they said, قَالُوا يَا أَبَانَا إِنَّا ذَهَبَنَا نَسْتَبِقُ وَتَرَكْنَا يُوسُفَ عِنْدَ مَتَاعِنَا فَأَكَلَهُ الذِّئْبُ. They said, Oh Father, indeed we went and we had a race and we left Yusuf with our belongings, and then a wolf ate him. وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُؤْمِنٍ لَنَا. You're not going to believe us, Dad. You're not going to believe us, even though we are telling the truth. And then they brought the bloodied shirt. Okay? Now how does this, my brothers, I want you to get into pairs actually now, and tell me, how does this differ from the second time around? Second time around they're being honest, we know that. But how do their words differ? Because if you can see differences in the words, we can kind of learn a lesson as to recognizing when someone might be lying and when someone is actually telling the truth, even though it seems like they're lying. Do you get that? So you need to analyze. Allah told us exactly what they said when they were being honest and breaking the news about a lost son, and Allah also told exactly what they said when they were actually lying and breaking the news about the lost son. So I'm going to leave it here. This is what they said in verse number 17 and 18 about Yusuf alayhi salam. And I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Okay, your time starts now. Get into pairs and discuss it. What kind of things are different from previous compared to now? Then I'm going to ask you, inshallah, what you think is the differences. Let's see what you have to offer. Brothers over here on the side, what do you think?
You said it's quite detailed the second time, like quite specific.
The second time when it comes to Binyamin or about Yusuf alayhi salam?
When Yusuf.
About the Yusuf alayhi salam. Okay, so it's more detail.
Yeah, it's like quite specific in one sentence.
Okay, so they said, Dad, we went
Yeah.
and then we, had a race and stuff, messing around, and then we left Yusuf with our staff and Abu Fahim. As opposed to the second time when they just say, your son stole.
Yeah, direct. It's more like trying to cover their backs and this and that just didn't happen.
Okay, so that's a very good point. That the first time round that they're lying and they sentence, when the way they explain it is a lot more detailed and convoluted, isn't it? Anyone else notice that? Yeah? What do you think? Why do you think that is?
I think when they were speaking about the use of it, they were speaking from the almost like a third person perspective, or because of.
Okay, in the third person perspective. Interesting.
So because of because of this and this and this is how it happened.
Okay.
When it came to the Benjamin,
Yeah.
they initially said it's because of the unforeseen, but they were more sincere about what they were doing. So they were speaking from more of the first person. It was our fault, but.
Okay, all right. Tayyib, it's interesting, that is. Recently I saw on the news, there's a documentary about trade unions, right? They're talking about David Cameron, and he made like a manifesto before the last general election. And he said to the fire brigade services, they said, are you going to cut, is your minister going to cut jobs in the fire service? And he said, this is his answer. He said, if the minister came to me with a plan to cut the jobs in the fire service, I'd tell him to go back to the office. Now what's interesting is when they did come to power, they cut jobs in the fire services. So why do you just say, no, we're not going to do that? Why do you say, if he came to me with a plan, we'd say, go back to the office? It's not yes or no, is it? Tayyib. Okay, so more detail, that's very good. What do you think, brothers? Yes. What other difference can you see?
Well, I don't know if there's, the translation is the same here as elsewhere, but I'm used to hearing this verse sort of translated slightly different. It sort of implies that even if we were, my translation here says even if we were truthful, sort of admitting that we're not telling the truth.
Okay, so what's different though? So وَلَوْ كُنَّا صَادِقِينَ, even if we were telling the truth. Whereas in the second time around they just say we are telling the truth. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Anyone want to elaborate on that point? Or you got different things, yeah?
I think I can try to elaborate.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. What do you think?
There's an actual psychological trait, which is that
What?
if you know that it's basically you judge others based on what you know for yourself.
Sure.
So they know that they're not telling the truth. So
Yeah.
they're already pre-assuming that.
The person's going to clock on as well. And that's why they say وَلَوْ كُنَّا صَادِقِينَ, even if we were telling the truth. So you're not telling the truth.
I think it's called reverse psychology.
Reverse psychology. Not sure. Okay. Maybe. Anything different now? Idris will come to you as well.
Yeah, if you look at both sentences, the first time they said, it's like reverse, they say, you're never going to believe us even though we tell the truth. And with Benjamin, they say, we tell the truth, and if you do not believe us, then have the caravan. That's the only thing I see, like the sentence.
With regards to Binyamin, they don't say, you're not going to believe us. Firstly, they don't say that. But they just say, at the end, we're telling the truth.
We tell the truth, but if you don't believe us, go and have the caravan. Yusuf, they said, you're not going to believe us, and then go and then kill.
Okay, so you're saying, I think I get to what you're saying here. So you're saying that when it came to Yusuf alayhi salam, they just said, you're not going to believe us, even though we're telling the truth. Full stop. But when it came to Binyamin, they said, this is what happened, don't believe us, ask them. Yeah? But the thing is, didn't they bring a proof when it came to Yusuf alayhi salam, the bloodied shirt? But what's the difference in there then?
You could actually trace the proof. So when it comes to the caravan, you could talk to the people and you could go to Egypt, find out with like also with a trace or with a
Okay, so
reliable evidence.
Anas, what do you think?
When they brought the proof to him for Yusuf,
Yeah.
they wanted the scene to end there. They didn't want him to go out and investigate. The
Ah,
second time, they wanted him to actually ask from two sides, the caravan or the people of Egypt.
yes, see, this subhanAllah, clear. They said, this is what happened, and we invite you to investigate. We invite you to investigate. As opposed to the other time, which is, this is what happened, and here's the proof, alright? Yeah? Now which one sounds more truthful? Yeah, which one sounds more honest? If I'm telling the truth, I've got nothing to hide. Ask the Egyptian people, ask the caravaneers that we went with. What else could they do? So, the differences. There's one other difference as well, which is that when it came to Yusuf alayhi salam, they contradicted themselves. Yeah. How did they contradict themselves? They said, Dad, let us take Yusuf because we're going to take him يَرْتَعْ وَيَلْعَبْ. He's going to enjoy himself eating loads and he's going to be enjoying himself playing games. When they come back, they say, نَسْتَبِقُوا. We were the one playing games. He was the one looking after the luggage. Hang on, you said you're going to take him so he could play games. Contradiction. You see? And this is, subhanAllah, the sunnah of Allah Jalla wa'ala. Yeah, as they say, there's no perfect crime, right? There's always going to be evidences, indications. And we see this here in the speech as well. Honest speech versus deceitful speech. Yeah? Just examining the speech itself can give you an indication about what's going on. Now, if it's that obvious that they are telling the truth here, then why does Yaqub alayhi salam, Dad, say the same thing he said the first time round? What did he say in verse number 83? Yep. Of course, this is the plan which Allah inspired Yusuf alayhi salam to bring them all together. What do you mean? Like, that's the reason why Benjamin was kept here. Oh yes, it is. It is going according to the plan, definitely. It is. So the thing is, if we can see the differences and say, look, this seems a lot more honest than the first time round, then why is it that Yaqub alayhi salam, when he hears what they have to say, he says, قَالَ بَلْ سَوَّلَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ أَمْرًا فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. Same thing, subhanAllah, he said, when it came to Yusuf alayhi salam. He says, قَالَ بَلْ, meaning rather, I don't believe what you're saying. Okay, سَوَّلَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ أَمْرًا. You have made tasweel of this matter. Tasweel, we said, it is when you make something seem fair-minded to you in order to justify it. This is how criminals behave. When you do something wrong, you say, why did you do that? You say, I was born from a broken home, lived in a ghetto all my life, never had nothing to my name. That's why I did it. So when he's doing the crime, he's saying, I've got to go rob that person's phone because I had such a bad life, hard life, need to get my stuff. This is tasweel. People do that all the time. Yeah, justify what they're doing by making it seem beautiful in their minds. Yeah, this is what it means to make something beautiful in order to justify it. So that's the same thing. This amr, this matter, you've just beautified it in your own minds, meaning I don't believe what you're saying. Yeah. However, then he goes on to say something more. He says, عَسَى اللَّهُ أَن يَأْتِيَنِي بِهِمْ جَمِيعًا. SubhanAllah. Now, even though this is the second time round this is happening, double trauma. Yeah, double trauma. You would think that he'd now maybe, break, snap. No. Same thing happening again. How comes? He gets stronger, subhanAllah. He says, perhaps, asa, for taraji, for hope. Perhaps that Allah يَأْتِيَنِي بِهِمْ جَمِيعًا. Perhaps that Allah will not bring Benjamin back to me, or the oldest of them, all of them. Yusuf alayhi salam is though. Perhaps Allah is going to bring them all back to me in one piece, all together. Subhanallah. In that critical position, Yaqub displays hope in Allah and trust in Allah. Amazing. If anything, you'd think, oh, maybe he'd start doubting himself, or start thinking, oh, what is this? Let me just not say nothing. The opposite. He's even more hopeful of Allah. Perhaps Allah is going to bring them all back to me. So Yusuf alayhi salam, the eldest of them, and Binyamin, all trapped somewhere. Yeah? Away from dad. He's saying, Allah, you'll bring them back to me. Innahu huwa al-alim al-hakim. Indeed, He is all-knowing, all-wise. Meaning, Allah knows why this is happening. And even though all this seems so bad to me and is such a big calamity, I don't know what's going on, I can't work it out. Allah knows. And whatever is happening through His hikmah, through His wisdom. Yeah? So He's expressing trust and reliance in Allah in a critical moment. Okay, now, this is when, subhanallah, we see just how badly all of this has affected Yaqub alayhi salam. He said, Allah Jalla then says, verse number 84, وَتَوَلَّى عَنْهُمْ وَقَالَ يَا أَسَفَا عَلَى يُوسُفَ. Then tawalla, he turns away from them. You just imagine his sons are all there, they're pleading with him, Dad, you got to believe us this time, seriously, this is what happened. Tawalla anhum, he turns away from them. He doesn't want to hear them anymore. I can't listen to this anymore. I'm so confused, I don't know what's going on. I want to be by myself. Just me and Allah. وَتَوَلَّى عَنْهُمْ وَقَالَ يَا أَسَفَ عَلَى يُوسُف. Woe, or Ya Asafa, oh my Asaf over Yusuf. So he's just been told Binyamin's been enslaved. You just lost your second son. His response is to think about Yusuf alayhi salam. That his love for Yusuf alayhi salam is so strong that this calamity only serves to remind him of his lost son, Yusuf alayhi salam. So he's thinking, you know what, this is so bad, but Yusuf, man, I still miss him so much. Ya Asafa. Asaf means, briefly, a very intense form of grief. And it's not just asaf, asafa, with the alif at the end, to say my intense grief. But the thing is, Allah Jalla then says, وَبَيَضَّتْ عَيْنَاهُ, that his eyes, his two eyes turned white. Something you can't even imagine. Someone's eyes turning white. It's like saying, you know, the black pupil area in your eyes, that just kind of fades away and the whole eyeball is just white. Yeah? That's speaking about his tears. That he cried so much, so intensely, over such a long period of time, that his eyes turned white. Either that means that he became blind totally and couldn't see anymore, or that his eyesight began to diminish so badly. And then, how did that happen? Min al-huzn. That happened due to or out of grief. فَهُوَ كَظِيمٌ. However, Allah said, even though he felt that bad, and it got to him that much, he was kadhim, holding it in, swallowing it up, and not showing it to anybody else. Now the word asaf, very interesting. The difference between asaf and huzn, as the Makhshari explains. He says that asaf is three emotions coming together over a prolonged period of time. Three emotions. Huzn, hasra, and jaza'. It is a combination of grief coupled with regret, coupled with worry, over a prolonged period of time. So Yaqub says, oh my asaf over Yusuf, how I've been feeling it for so long, and you know what's happened? My eyes have turned white because of that. Meaning I've cried so many tears over him. And now it's just got to breaking point when I found out about my second son now. This is all out of grief. However, Allah says, فَهُوَ كَظِيمٌ. Kadhim comes from the word kadham. And kadham means to hold back on something, to swallow up something. And is usually used regarding ghayz, anger. So Yaqub is also feeling very angry with his children. That how could you do this to me for a second time? Yeah, anger. But he's kadhim. He's holding back on that anger. Interesting is part of the Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said in a hadith which As-Suyuti said is Hasan, that there is no swallowing up which yields more reward than the swallowing up of anger. For the sake of Allah. For the sake of Allah. As if to say, when a person is full of anger, then he needs to show it, express it, in either behavior or speech. But a person who can hold on to that anger, not show it for Allah's sake, not because people are going to think bad of him, or because on TV, hey, you can't be behaving like that in front of the camera, you got to calm down. No, not because of the camera, but because of Allah. Then he'll get more reward than holding back on any other emotion. Yeah, Hadith Hasan. So here Yaqub alayhi salam being praised. He's being praised by Allah for not showing this grief. Now the thing is, what did we say was sabrun jameel? Anyone remember the definition of sabrun jameel? What did Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah say sabrun jameel is? How is it different to just normal sabr? Yes? Okay, no, that wasn't the definition. That was the fruit of it. What was the definition? No, sabrun jameel, a beautiful patience. Idris, yeah. No. Come on. Sabrun jameel is, what is it? Patience of uselessness. MashaAllah, diplomatic answer, MashaAllah. No one remembers what sabrun jameel is. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said, sabrun jameel, as-sabru bila shakwa. Patience without complaining. Yes, patience without complaining. And this is very difficult. A person can be patient on calamity in their life, but they need to go and speak to someone, Need to phone my friend, need to go speak to my mom, need to go speak to the shrink, need to go speak to the counselor, need to get it off my chest. Yeah, it's too much. I need to complain to people about it, need to whine, need to moan. If you don't do that, then that's what's called sabrun jameel. The problem is, or the apparent problem is that here Yaqub alayhi salam, he starts to kind of complain, no? Ya asafa ala Yusuf wa bayaddat aynahu min al-husni fahuwa kadhim. He's saying this out loud now. So how do we reconcile between the fact that he has sabrun jameel, but at the same time he's complaining about the calamity? What do you think? If I had a better prize, I'll give you a better prize if you get this one. We've got two offers, three offers. Anybody else? Anyone's not answered a question today? No? Do you see that there might be some kind of conflict here? You're saying that sabrun jameel is not complaining, but Yaqub alayhi salam seems to be complaining. Yes, okay.
I think it's because he's not complaining to people, he's just complaining to himself.
He's complaining to himself or to Allah. Yes, to Allah. Fadl. Yes, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah says that complaining to Allah, ash-shakwa ila Allah, it doesn't negate sabrun jameel. Yeah, it doesn't negate sabrun jameel. And subhanAllah, this is a natural response that when you're going through tough times, you need to let it out. You need to speak about it. You can speak about it to the creation, or you can speak about it to the Creator. Yeah, if you spoke about it to the Creator, then you're still maintaining sabrun jameel. Okay. So it's quite amazing that he's feeling this asaf, which is a combination of all of these emotions, for such a long period of time that has caused him to cry so much so that has affected his eyesight. It's quite unimaginable, isn't it? Do you know anyone who's gone through something like that? Ended up crying that much? How much do you need to cry to lose your eyesight? That's the question, right? Interestingly enough, they said that tears, they're of different types. Some people cry out of emotion, sometimes people cry because of an irritant, like onions can make you cry. So there's a difference. Even they said that the chemical composition of tears that are coming from emotion are different to tears that are coming out of irritant. So, like the brother, your friend, maybe you're watching something, gets a bit sad, tears starts to come out. What's wrong with you? You're crying over this. No, it's a damn fly, man. It's a bloody fly, man. Where am I? Lala, we can take those tears and test them. Tayyib. That's emotion, bro. No, because some people believe crying is unmanly, It's against Iman, crying. It's not something good to cry, But in certain contexts, in fact, it's praiseworthy to cry, right? Crying out of the fear of Allah makes you one of the 7 under the Arsh of Ar-Rahman. On Yawm al-Qiyamah, may Allah make us from those people. So crying, not necessarily a sign of lack of Iman or lack of, muru'ah, manliness, not necessarily. So Yaqub alayhi salam cried that much that he lost his eyesight or his eyesight became that bad. And that was all out of grief over Yusuf alayhi salam. However, he never let that be seen by anyone. That's even more amazing, isn't it? To feel that bad, that the grief has got to your eyes, physically making you look different, yet you don't show it to other people. That's like coming together of 2 extremes, isn't it? Like the worst type of calamity and feeling that much grief over it, and at the same time the magnificence of holding that back and not showing it to anyone. That's the coming together of 2 distant emotions, 2 different extremes, right? And this is the way that Allah teaches us in the Quran, that He gives us the worst case scenario and then gives us the best case response. You know what that does? When it comes to the worst case scenario, no one can say, I can't be, act like that because you don't know what I'm going through. It's so bad. Let me tell you how bad my situation is. Ya akhi, but is it worse than this? Worst case scenario of Yaqub. Okay, not as bad as that. My eyes haven't gone white yet. So if in the worst case scenario someone can behave as like this, it means in lesser than that, it's possible to some behave like that. Yeah, it's subhanAllah, the way Allah Jalla wa teaches us in the Quran. طيب. فهو كظيم. Now, قالوا تالله. Now they say something in response to what Yaqub alayhi salam said. But Yaqub alayhi salam said that in private. So how do we understand this? Like they're going to say, what is going on here? Why are you saying that for? But we just said that he said it in private. Well, the understanding is that Yaqub alayhi salam said it to himself in private, complaining to Allah, but they overheard. Just like Musa alayhi salam. You know the story of Musa alayhi salam in Surah Qasas? He goes, he runs away as a fugitive from Egypt because he's accidentally killed that man. Fir'aun and his people are after him. He flees to Madian. On the way, he sees those 2 women wanting to get water. He goes and helps them. And that's it. He doesn't ask for anything. Instead, he's got nowhere to go. He doesn't even know where he's going. He's got nothing to his name. And he doesn't want to ask the 2 women or the people around there for any help. He just sits in the shade and he makes a dua to Allah. The women happen to overhear what he says. Then they take him to their father. Same thing here. Yaqub alayhi salam doesn't complain to anyone. They overhear. What did they say? تَفْتَأُ تَذْكُرُ Yusuf. They said Tallahi. Tallahi is to take an oath, different to Wallahi. Anyone remember the difference between saying Tallahi and Wallahi? Yep.
More emphasis on Allah.
Okay, more emphasis? Not really.
Truly
No, it's not. In fact, Wallahi has more emphasis. Wallahi is more emphasis. Tallahi is to have, as Zamakhshari said, ta'ajjub. It's like shock. Like, Tallahi, are you serious? Yeah? Like they're in shock. Tallahi, tafta'u, tazkuru Yusuf. Tafta'u means to continue on unrelentingly. Are you going to continue on making mention of Yusuf alayhi salam up until takuna haradan aw takuna min al-haliyin? Up until 2 things are going to happen. One of 2 things is going to happen to you. Either you're going to become harad or you're going to become someone who's from the halikin. Harada. Interesting word. It means when something decomposes. Okay? Something decomposes. So in the context of this verse, they're saying that you're going to grieve so much over Yusuf alayhi salam that it's going to consume you and wither you away. You're just going to wither away. Or the alternative is that you're going to be of those that become destroyed. Halaka, yeah, to destroy. As if they're saying either you're going to keep this inside up until it consumes you and you're going to wither away, or you're going to snap and explode. Yeah? Either one of these things, Dad. So they can see the effect of the grief on their father. Yeah, they can see it. Now they're not complaining, they're saying, what's wrong with you, Dad? They're saying, don't do this, Dad, to yourself. That's the way they're saying it. Don't do this to yourself, Dad. Don't do this anymore to yourself. Don't let this eat you up inside. So Yaqub alayhi salam is now going to respond to what they're saying. One interesting thing about this verse is that there's three strange words. They're rare words in Arabic. You don't use words like tallahi. You usually say wallahi. Tafta'u. Tafta'u is another very strange word. And then harad. Harad is another very strange word. Yeah. And why are they using strange words? Because the situation is strange. Yeah. They're seeing strange things. Dad is gone. What has happened to Dad? His eyes have gone white. Strange. You know, when you see strange things, you start expressing that strangeness in your words by using sometimes rare words. Okay. Now Dad explains. قَالَ إِنَّمَا. Innama, as if to say, I'm not complaining about Yusuf, and I'm not, just lamenting over Yusuf. I'm not doing that. I'm actually talking to Allah. Yeah. قال إنما أشكو بثي وحزني إلى الله. I'm actually making, I'm complaining to Allah about two things. بثي وحزني. Bath also translates as sorrow. Huzn also translates as sorrow. But there's a difference. Al-bath comes from the root of batha, which means to spread. Yeah. So al-bath here means that my grief has spread to every corner of my body, even to my eyes. And that's why you can see my eyes gone white. Because this bath, this grief spread to every corner of my body. And you know that process for the grief to consume you, it takes a while, right? So he's talking about Yusuf al-Islam, like over all these years, the grief has finally got to me. وَحُزْنِي, and this new grief of mine, what you just told me now, about Binyamin and the eldest of them. These two griefs, I'm actually complaining to them, to Allah. I'm not just lamenting over them. And you know what? وَأَعْلَمُ مِنَ اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And I know something about Allah, or from Allah rather, that you don't know. What is he talking about? Huh? The dream, very good. He's saying that I know that dream that Yusuf told me about a long time ago. And that dream gave me the hope in order to deal with this. Because I know he's not dead. Because that dream showed me that he's going to be someone great. But I don't know where he is. He's kidnapped, I don't know, is he safe, where he is, what's happening with him. And that's what's, really making me grieve. But I know something about Allah, or from Allah, that you don't know. Meaning, you're going to see what's going to happen. So he's kind of saying that, I don't understand what's going on. I don't know the full story. But I'm very hopeful in Allah that there's going to be a positive end to all of this. Yeah, a positive end to all of this. Okay, now we're going to take this little tangent on depression and Islam. Okay, depression and Islam. And it kind of fits together very nicely because, these words that Allah used to describe Yaqub alayhi salam, different words to explain his grief. Yes. Word, what do we have right in the beginning? We had the word, I forgot the word now. Asaf. Asaf, and then we had Huzn, then we had Kadhm, and then we had Harad. So Allah spoke about his grief from many different perspectives, kind of giving us an indication of the emotional state that he was going through. And it's not just a one-off. Those words symbolize that he was going through them for a long period of time. Okay, a long period of time. And then obviously there's the tears as well. Yeah, the tears as well. That's also been made mention of. So the question arises that, is this depression? Could this be classed as depression? If so, what does that mean exactly? Can a believer be depressed or not? or if a believer is depressed, does it mean he's not a true believer or his belief in Allah is weak? What is the case? Now, we need to first understand what is depression. Okay, we were talking about depression, we don't even know what it means. Clinically speaking, what is depression? Now, besides what we learned in the Quran, I will also be using my knowledge as a pharmacist to help me try and discuss this. Obviously, we had to study depression in university. And also, I'm taking help from my mother as well, who's been a counsellor for about 25 years. So she's got a lot of experience in dealing with depression and people with depression. So hopefully, inshallah, we can try and shed some light on this matter. Now, clinically speaking, what is depression? According to the NICE guidelines, okay, which is like a benchmark in the medical world for medical treatment and intervention, they class depression as follows. They say it's a combination of one of two core symptoms plus other symptoms over a period of more than 2 weeks. Okay, one of two core symptoms plus other symptoms over a period of more than 2 weeks. Some other definitions are there, but they kind of are very, very similar to this. So either it's one of these two core symptoms. Okay. First core symptom is either persistent sadness or low mood nearly every day. So patient comes in, he says, I'm depressed. Okay, let me work out whether you are actually clinically depressed or whether you're just going through a bad time, low mood. This happens, People feel up and down sometimes. This is normal. This is something that touches every single person. Sometimes you feel really good, sometimes you don't feel good. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a actual condition, which has been medically defined, known as clinical depression. Okay, so you're saying you feel bad. Okay, can you tell me, have you felt sad every single day for the last, let's say 2 weeks? Have you? So the person says no. Okay, but there's another core symptom. That is that, have you lost interest or pleasure in doing things that you always like to do? For example, you like to play football every week. Is it suddenly the case that I don't like to play football anymore? You like spending time with your kids. I can't spend time with my kids anymore. You like watching movies. You go to the cinema. Do you do that anymore? No, I don't do that anymore. Oh, so there's another core symptom there. That you don't like doing those things that you used to like doing. You lost interest in them. Okay, one of these two core symptoms, coupled with some other minor symptoms like fatigue, always feeling tired, like aches and pains, like suicidal thoughts, or like changes in appetite. So go on a binge, start eating so much. Well, that coupled with either one of the two core symptoms may mean that you are clinically depressed. Okay, may mean that, according to the doctors, so this is depression, clinically speaking. Essentially, you feel very sad, persistently for more than 2 weeks. Okay, more than 2 weeks. And one of the ways we can tell that is because you just don't like doing the things that you used to like doing anymore. Alright, or there's some other factors like you start eating a lot, aches and pains, all the rest of it. It gives you an idea of what clinical depression is. So, essentially speaking, it's to do with your psychology as well as your behavior by yourself and with others, social interaction. So they kind of look at all these things. There's all these kind of problems that revolve around clinical depression. Now, with that in mind, some questions rise. Number one, can a Muslim be depressed? Can a Muslim actually be diagnosed with depression? You might think that's a silly question. I know a brother who's got depression, okay, and he's on the medicines. I don't mean it like that, like is it possible? I mean it by implication. That if that brother or sister's got depression and he's on medicine for depression, then is he really a brother? Astaghfirullah. That's what I mean. Or does it mean he hasn't got, his iman is really weak and that's why he's got depression? If he had strong iman, no way would he be depressed. Okay? Now the other question is, does Islam recognize the existence of depression? Let's start with this second question first. Does Islam recognize the existence of depression? The question itself is the wrong question because it assumes that Islam, in the Quran and Sunnah, it lists medical conditions like, cold is fine, flu, okay, Depression, no. This, we're not having any of this in Islam. Yeah. This is wrong from this perspective. Islam never came to give guidelines on what a believer is allowed to contract and what a believer is not allowed to contract. Okay, so the question is not really right. Maybe it's more accurate to say, does Islam find blameworthy the feelings associated with depression? That's more of an accurate question, isn't it? That, okay, people that are depressed, they're chronically sad. Yeah. Why are they chronically sad? Let's put that to one side for them. But the fact is that they're chronically sad for at least 2 weeks, on the trot. And they start doing some things like they eat law, or they don't like doing the things they used to do. Oh, does Islam say feeling sad consistently for a long period of time is blameworthy? Aha. Now, if you look at, in light of what we read about Yaqub alayhi salam, that, إِنَّمَا أَشْكُو بَثِّي وَحُزْنِي إِلَى اللَّهِ, where bath means a prolonged state of grief until it surfaces to the, to the top. Then, if Yaqub alayhi salam felt like that, and he's a prophet of Allah, then not only does it mean a believer can experience those feelings, but on top of that, Allah said He held back on expressing them. Meaning the feelings weren't blameworthy. Is it? The feelings weren't blameworthy, but kind of expressing them in the wrong way, that's what's blameworthy. Okay. So we already can say that Islam does recognize the feelings associated with depression. Essentially long-term, a long-standing sadness or grief. Easily said. Now the thing is, the other question, which is, can a Muslim to be depressed? Okay, that's the real core question. Now what I found, and Allah knows best, is that there seems to be two distant answers. Yeah. One answer is that a Muslim can't be depressed because, didn't Allah say, أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ? That, verily in the remembrance of Allah do the hearts find tranquility, peace and repose. And now you're saying a believer can be depressed? If anything, he's still a believer, but he's got problems in his iman. And that's why he's depressed. Now, counter-reaction, this is what I found, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is you Maulanas, man, you don't know what's going on. Yeah? You think that someone's depressed and then you're telling them they're not a good believer, that's going to make them even worse. The reality is that there is such a thing called depression, and a Muslim can experience that, and this is why this is a problem to say, as they say, not only can a Muslim be perfectly fine in Islam and develop depression, but a depressed person, kind of have to excuse him for doing some of the things he does. Suicidal thoughts, that happens when you're depressed. You need to understand that. Complaining about why me, why this happened to me, what could happen to somebody else, what did I do wrong? You take it easy, don't, I can see you're trying to advise him and telling him don't say those type of things, but he's depressed, you need to appreciate that, okay? That's what happens to those guys, okay? Or worse than that, which is that brother, he never came to Jum'ah, and I saw him in university. I mean, why didn't he come? I'm going to go and speak to him. Bro, what's going on? I never came Jum'ah today. Is everything okay? You can't miss your Jum'ah. If you miss 3 Jum'ahs, akhi, Allah seals up the heart of that person. Another brother comes along and says, look, to leave him alone, all right? He's depressed, all right? He's depressed, so, you kind of got to let him off the hook, he's so caught up in his problems. You know what he's going through right now? It's terrible, okay? Just give him a break. Seems like that might be problematic, isn't it? So what is the answer? Is there depression or is there not depression? What is the deal here? The answer is as follows, that the real religious question in the discussion on depression is, does depression ever justify doing haram? That is a religious question. It's not a medical question, is it? You can't ask that to a doctor, can you? Yeah. This is a religious question. can depression ever justify the depressed person doing something haram? For example, having suicidal thoughts. Not just passing thoughts, entertaining those thoughts. I'm going to go to the underground station right now. I'm going to choose the busiest time as well, and I'm going to jump for it. That's what I'm going to do. I can't take it anymore. It's too much. Yeah? وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Is it justified for that person to have those thoughts? What about what he says? What about not praying? What about not fasting? Is it justified for them to do that? You see, we're not looking at it on a case-by-case scenario. We're talking about the theory here. We're talking about the theory, okay? Don't get bogged down, oh, but akhi, come on, where's your heart for that person? No. We're talking about a person right now. We're just talking about the theory. The reality is that there is no justification for doing haram, even if you're depressed. Agree or not? Yeah. But at the same time, a person can feel grief for a prolonged period of time, for whatever reason. That is not blameworthy. See, this is the, if you like, the middle ground. And we find this captured in the incident in the life of the Prophet ﷺ, where he lost his son Ibrahim. Yeah, he had a son, Ibrahim, second son. And this son grew up to be, just a small infant, maybe like a toddler. And at that time, Allah decreed that he would pass away. The Prophet ﷺ was seen crying at the loss of his son. Crying. Grieved by that. Aggrieved by that. And the companions, in fact, some of them were surprised. And they said, do you cry? Like, we didn't know that you cry over these type of things. They thought maybe it's not manly to do that. So they asked out of curiosity, an innocent curiosity. And the Prophet ﷺ said, what did he say? He said, indeed, the eyes shed tears, the heart grieves, but this tongue doesn't say anything except what pleases Allah. Do you see the coming together of both these things? The feelings that you feel, even if they're for a prolonged period of time, Islam doesn't censor them. Yeah? But at the same time, he said, this tongue doesn't say that which except pleases Allah. Meaning, I'm not going to complain, whine, question the qadr of Allah, talk about committing suicide, etc., etc., etc. That's a problem. Yeah? So, therefore, we can say that, a person, he can feel depressed in his life. But at the same time, he shouldn't let that depression lead him to do haram things. Okay? Lead him to do haram things. Now the thing is, Allah spoke in the Quran about people doing haram things because emotionally, emotions get the better of them. Allah said in Surah Al-Isra, إِنَّ السَّمْعَ وَالْبَصَرَ وَالْفُؤَادَ كُلُّ أُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ عَنْهُ مَسْئُولًا. That indeed the hearing, the sight, and the heart, all of them will be mas'oola, will be held accountable, okay, responsible. Interestingly, Allah used the word for heart, fu'ad here, not qalb. Different in fu'ad and qalb is fu'ad is an emotionally charged heart, an inflamed heart. Because people, when they do bad things sometimes, they swear at someone. Like, brother, play football, and he tackled him, he swore at him. Come on, akhi, why did you swear at him? What did he say? Oh, bro, just, my emotions got the better of me there. I just overcome by rage there for a second, You can't hold me account to that. You can't put me in the sin bin. The sin bin? We have this referees. Put the brother in the sin bin. He's got to go outside because he swore. La, you can't put me in the sin bin, okay? Emotions got the better of me. La. Allah is saying, even that emotional heart of yours, كَانَ عَنْهُ مَسْئُولًا. Even that emotional heart, depressed heart, whatever you want to call it, not justify any haram what you do. Okay? So this is, if you like, a conclusion, that we can make here, a conclusion. You see, some people think that if a person is depressed, it means that his iman is low. Is that really the case though? Can you say that the Yaqub alayhi salam's iman was low? You can't say that, can you? Yeah, you can't say that. Of course you can't say that. The other thing is, like brothers say, the only person who's afflicted with black magic is a person whose iman is weak. Have you heard that? Isn't it? You heard this? The only person who, have problems with black magic is people, they're far from Allah anyway. That's why it's easy for, jinn to possess them or to affect them. But that's not true. Because the Prophet ﷺ, towards the end of his life, he was touched by black magic. Yeah? As Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah said, he was affected by black magic, but it didn't affect him to the extent that it encroached on his ability to pass the message. Meaning, he was giving guidelines on something to do with Islam, and because of the black magic affecting him, he made a mistake in that. La. The only extent it went to in affecting him was that he thought he'd done something when he hadn't done it. For example, he thought he made ghusl from janaba when he hadn't made ghusl from janaba, or the other way around. So if the Prophet ﷺ was affected by black magic to that extent, then it can't be the case that the only people afflicted with black magic are those that have low iman. Can it? You can't. Same thing with depression. A person can. But the thing is, does Islam have a role in helping someone with depression? That's the other question. Yeah, that's the other question. And here, this is where we find Islam does. Because, as a pharmacist, I know that people, they diagnose with depression, rightfully or wrongly sometimes. And one of the main things that happens is that they get put on these anxiolytics, with these drugs, which basically are supposed to up the mood, okay? And the way they work is that they enhance a particular neurotransmitter in your brain, which is related to positive moods, okay? Like serotonin, for example. So that's the way they try and cure depression. But the thing is, people, they're usually on that for a very long time. And as soon as they come off, they relapse, yeah? And sometimes they need to go from one drug to another drug because that drug stops working. Yeah, so they have to move around all the different classes of drugs just to stay away from being depressed. So is that just a solution? That we say, Akhi, you suffer from depression, you can take medicine for it, but there's some other things as well. Because depression is not just a clinical state. Rather, there's other factors, like, for example, your relationship with Allah. Can that not help you come out of depression? Of course it can. Yeah. What about your social setting? How you are or who you are spending time with? Can that not also help you? Of course it can. So Islam is presenting solutions on many levels. Yeah. You can go for the medical, or you can do the medical as well as look at other things. One key thing is to do with a creedal approach, to do with educating and advising that person on a knowledge level, and that advice will help them in their facing depression. For example, explain to the brother or sister feeling depressed that, do you know, that Allah Jalla wa Ala intentionally tests His servants and slaves? Do you know that? Let's get that clear right now. Allah wants to test you. Allah is going to test you. And that's something Allah mentions explicitly in the Quran. وَلَنَبَلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ. There's no doubt about it. We are certainly going to test you in many different aspects of your life. Yeah? هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ. As you know in Surah Mulk, Allah says we created death and life in order to test you. In order to test us? That's one of the main reasons you created us? Yes, one of the main reasons I created you, to test you, to see how you respond in times of test. So let's get that clear right now. Tests are part of life. Allah wanted it to be like that. In fact, Allah also says, وَمَا أَصَابَكُمْ مِن مُصِيبَةٍ. In Surah Taghabun, Allah says that when a calamity afflicts you, and He used the word musibah. Musibah comes from asaba, to target. As if Allah is saying that each and every one of you are going to be tested, but I'm going to target you with specific tests. Tests that are tailor-made to your personality and your nature. What somebody can bear may not be possible for another person to bear. Yeah, true or not? People are different. So Allah says, we're giving you musibah, targeting you specifically based on who you are, and I know who you are, I created you. That's another thing, that tests are tailor-made for people. And another thing is وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. Sorry. وَلَا يُكَلِّفُ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وُسْعَهَا. That Allah does not burden a person more than he can bear. Yeah? So Allah is not going to test you in a way that you can't handle this. There's no way, akhi, I can handle what's going on. It's the end of the road for me. No, akhi. You can't even, you shouldn't be thinking like that. For Allah, He tests us, but He never tests us more than we can bear. You need to know that. Which means, therefore, you need to hope in Allah and never despair of His mercy. Yeah? لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله. Don't ever despair of the mercy of Allah. The last thing that you should be part of your advice to a depressed person is that this world and this dunya is only the beginning. It's not the end. And this is something very important, that a lot of people, they feel that they can't handle the situation because they feel like everything that they have is in this dunya. There's no akhirah. They don't believe that, obviously, but they unknowingly start to think like that. And you know what? Just imagine that was the case. Like, you have a car accident and qadar Allah, you become, paralyzed. And you got to live your whole life as a paralyzed person. Can't walk anymore, can't work anymore, can't go places anymore, you're in a wheelchair the rest of your life until you die. If you believed that the world and the dunya is all I have, how can you not become depressed? This is all I have for the rest of my life, and there's nothing after this. Of course a person will become depressed. Yeah? As opposed to a person who believes this dunya is nothing compared to the akhirah. There is still a hereafter to come. There's still a hereafter to come. This is just a window into the next life, which is for an eternity. Hope, coupled with knowing that the akhirah is the real life, can help someone come out of depression. Yeah. So, this is, if you like, the way Islam recognizes the feelings associated with depression, how we can understand that on a theological level, and also, what are the solutions? Okay, the solutions are not just medicine itself. Part of the solution, perhaps. Other parts of it is wholesome advice, from a caring person, and that advice is focusing around uplifting the hope of that person, to place in Allah more, to believe that there's a life to come, and also to know that Allah tests, but He never tests you beyond your means and capability. Wallahu a'lam. So what do you think, brothers? What's your thoughts on the whole depression issue, and what do you think was being said here? Do you think maybe no, depression can't affect a brother or a sister? Or what do you think? The issue of depression. Hands up if you know someone who's depressed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Nearly 50% of you. Wow. Brothers coming to study Tafseer in a masjid. Yeah. So you know someone who's depressed. Maybe you know more than one. More than one person. So, what do you think, Kenny? Any comments about depression? How to help someone with depression? Or Islam in depression? What do you think? Yeah.
Are some cases purely clinical?
On some cases purely clinical. The thing is, even in the medical world, they believe that all depression, as far as I remember, goes back to a trauma. Yeah? An incident that happened once in your life, either when you were a child or something happened which triggered these feelings. Do you see?
Okay, so we're just talking clearly of depression, not other forms of psychological disease.
Yeah, we're talking about one thing, which is depression, and we defined what that is, but what I'm saying is that, you said, is it just clinical? I'm saying that they don't believe that you can be born with depression, or you inherit it. Do you see? It's more that there's something happened in your life and it triggered you to become depressed. So that's why the psychiatrist or the counselor will try and get to the root problem, because the idea is if we get to the root problem and deal with it, then this thing which came about because of it will also, kind of fade away. Yes, Ali, and I'll come to yourself after.
Sometimes depression is a good thing.
Right.
Regarding to Allah.
Yep.
And sometimes when it comes to depression, the only way it can be a bad thing is when that depression affects your relationship with Allah.
Okay, very good point. So Ali said, sometimes feeling depressed or going through depression can be a positive in your life. Yeah, just like any test. If you react in the right way, for sabrun jameel, and positively hoping in Allah, then that can increase your rank before Allah. We spoke about maqasid al-ibtila before as well, the higher objectives behind testing. So there's many positive outcomes that could come about. So being or going through depression could be something which saves you from the fire. Yeah, if you behave in a righteous way when experiencing that. Yes, Aki, over there in the back there, you wanted to say something?
Oh yeah, I don't know, Allah seems Surah that turns away from remembrance.
Yep.
Depressed life.
Okay, we'll have a depressed life is maybe not an accurate translation. But even if we said that is you live a depressed life, then what Allah Jalla wa Ala is speaking about there is people, number one, who have turned away from Him completely. Yeah, and as a consequence, they are continually and always going to live ma'ishatan danka, a restricted, constricted, miserable life. Yeah, so it's a bit different to just going through a period of depression because of some trauma that happens in your life. Yes.
I think my competition background and got depression in schools, very young age now. Kids are depressed, very young.
Yep.
And we used to work in a Muslim country as well, and you see the exact same thing.
Same thing.
They did come to school depressed,
Yep.
social issues, and unfortunately as Muslims, we're not dealing with it.
Sure.
We're kind of covering it up and pretending it doesn't exist. Or,
Sure.
something wrong with her, but it's something that's growing, and we're not dealing with it.
Yep. I think I agree with the brother that it is a growing problem around the world, and the Muslim community has also been affected by it, maybe to the same extent or to a lesser extent. But the leaders, what kind of messages are they getting out there? What kind of activities are they doing to help, especially the youngsters suffering from depression? It's something that needs to be discussed properly, and some solutions need to be derived. Definitely, I agree with you. But the thing is, the problem is that conceptually, if it's misunderstood, then they'll never come to a solution.
Yeah, it's just covered up. I don't know. There's nothing wrong. It's not what it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of brush under the carpet.
Yeah.
This person told us.
Because some people feel that there's no such thing as depression, or there is such thing as depression, but a Muslim can't get that. So if you've got depression, it means you're lacking in iman. So that's why I said if we need to go to the root problem, which is how to understand depression in Islam. Yep. Huh? It's a lot of time now? Okay. We'll have to finish here. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk wa jazakumullahu khairan.